we need to talk about Sleepy Joe again, but for among the last time, hopefully. I'm sure there'll be more, but the numbers of times we're going to have to talk about Mr. Biden
They're definitely drawing to a close.
Yeah. So he decided, apparently of his own volition, that he's not going to seek re-election. He's not going to go before the American people again.
You probably should have put a trigger warning on that, just in case Joe's watching and he doesn't know yet.
Right, yeah.
Doubtless he is.
Yeah.
Breaking news, Mr. Biden.
So apparently it's come as a shock to lots of people, including sort of people very close to him, his own staffers and things, which is extremely suspicious to me.
Well, I was checking the White House press releases just before we came on air. It's still no mention on the Putis account, no mention on Jill Biden's Lotus account.
Someone on Twitter said they saw a Biden-Harris ad on their TV like an hour before the news broke.
Yeah.
And as you say,
so
all of their staffers were like, well, we found out via the tweet.
So my knowledge of sort of, the history of presidents, I'm fascinated by this. I'm particularly interested in Eisenhower, Nixon, JFK, that sort of era. I've read quite a lot of books about those. Anyway, you would tell your senior staffers.
It's the sort of thing that comes up in a meeting, isn't it?
Right. You just would.
So can I point out a few things about this that I find really strange? It's not on headed paper. No.
Yeah.
So this isn't from the office of the president. Joe Biden is not in control of his own social media accounts. That's the diversity hire press secretary who does that. So,
do we know it's her?
Yeah. She mistakenly posted something. It was supposed to come through her Twitter account on his.
Oh, I always wondered who, because he tweeted 36 times during that debate with Trump.
Yeah, it's obviously not him.
And she's a dummy.
Well, she's
pretty badly a dummy. She tries to use arguments and rationales that don't work on an 8-year-old.
Yeah, she's desperate sometimes. But I mean, look what she has to defend, right?
Oh, yeah.
But this I find just very, very peculiar. And then people pointed out that's a weird signature. Doesn't actually match his other signatures. In fact, can we get that up? Because
look at that.
He doesn't underline his signature. So on previous executive orders,
the R is much, much smaller.
Yeah.
The B doesn't look the same.
The S is always different at the end.
Yeah, completely different.
So it's not his signature.
The first thing that sprung to my mind when I saw this was Guy Fawkes' signature, and they'd tortured him, so it was a barely legible scribble.
No, I don't think they.
I'm not saying he's being held hostage in a West Wing basement or anything.
But we're not saying that either.
Right, yeah.
It's certainly a non-zero chance.
But in this letter, there's nothing to it. The only thing of any real relevance that tells us anything is the line that says that he's going to stand down to focus solely on fulfilling his duties as president in the remainder of his term, which is nonsense. It says, I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. So it's sort of...
That's not standing down then, is it? I'm not going to seek re-election. I'm going to stand down. But I'm going to remain as president, even though, obviously, I'm not seeking re-election because of the decline of my cognitive faculties. But I am going to be president for the next 5 months. So just let's hope that Putin or Xi Jinping doesn't do anything particularly stressful in that time.
I mean, if you were China, you would invade Taiwan today.
Well, it's the classic thing when a politician just wants to get out of office and get out of the public eye as quickly as humanly possible for whatever reason, usually because there's a scandal pending, usually because the papers have come to them and say, we're going to print this.
Yeah.
The ball's now in your court, what are you going to do? And they usually say, the old cliche, isn't it? I've got to spend more time with my family. I really want to spend more time with my family. That's the line, isn't it? To the point of being a joke. And so that's a take on that, isn't it? I want to focus more on the job I'm doing now, even though, just hours before, it seems, he was still up for re-election.
Well, I mean, literally in the past couple of days, every Democrat notable has come out and just said, no, Biden is definitely going to be the candidate. Biden's staying. Everyone's going to get behind. And so all of the sort of activist class on social media were like, yep, we love Biden. Biden's great.
Well, all his close proxies were even hours before this saying that he's getting impatient with people trying to get him to pull out.
Yeah.
So I don't think he knew about this.
No.
You really think?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think so, but I would not be surprised.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people are saying, well, look, this kind of looks like a coup. This happened from the people around Biden who are obviously propping up his presidency. And it does kind of look that way. Why hasn't Biden come out and made an announcement? Just a video address. Why is this, again, on unheaded paper without his proper signature on it? Who wrote this? Who posted this on his account that he obviously doesn't run?
So the leaked stuff coming out from Nancy Pelosi's, people who know Nancy Pelosi, is that she said to him, look, we can either do this the easy way or the hard way. And then she came back to him 4 weeks later, which was like a couple of days ago, and said, look, we've been doing the easy way for 4 weeks. Now we're going to do it the hard way. And all you need to do is like ring up Jill and say, oh, how is he? Oh, he's passed out with flu and, we can't wake him. Oh, okay, fair enough. And then you pick up another phone and you say, do it. And then this gets dropped from whatever the press secretary. And then you notice that the Clintons immediately came out and all their surrogates in the media, they all just started running with it as if this is perfectly normal.
Yeah.
And they just talked about the prospects of President Harris.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's apparently in COVID isolation at the moment.
4 days in, and he's decided, you know what, I've had enough.
And then if you do this, I was saying this to Dan off camera earlier, that this isn't the sort of thing you just drop a letter about. You have to address the nation, you would have thought.
Yeah.
And if you do it by letter, and then you say, I'm going to talk to the nation later
Later this week.
just later, that's all it says, later this week, you would do it sooner rather than later. You would expect he would do it this morning, American time, at least this afternoon, American time. Doesn't look like he's going to do it. Who knows when we'll actually see. We do kind of want proof of life.
And the thing is, this was dropped on a Sunday afternoon, wasn't it? That's weird.
It is weird, yeah.
It's just a weird time.
Yeah.
It's like, see, I was just, just had my Sunday roast.
I mean, I believe
Pondering it, and I thought I'd just give it up.
I believe it was LBJ who was one of the last ones to not run for a second term, and he gave a 40-minute address.
Yeah, famous.
On camera.
Yeah. Fully explaining himself.
Yeah.
And
we get this.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, so you mentioned that there was lots of people, and right up to the last minute almost, still coming out for him, backing him. But has been a power struggle. Clearly. So, for example, obviously. So, for example, some of the big beasts in the party, someone like Adam Schiff, or Schiff, I can't remember how you pronounce it, has sort of went on record and saying, I don't think it's a good idea if Joe goes for it. Actually, can we play this? It's a few minutes and it's about 4 days old, but
President Joe Biden all smiles on the campaign trail just hours before this.
He just tested positive for COVID.
Biden's symptoms are mild, says the White House, but it's terrible timing to be sidelined as even more Democrats come out against his re-election bid. The latest, prominent House Democrat Adam Schiff, the highest profile lawmaker to demand Biden step aside. Biden has been one of the most consequential presidents in our nation's history, Schiff told the LA Times. But I have serious concerns about whether the president can defeat Donald Trump. Another high-profile Democrat, Senator Cory Booker, didn't go that far, but said,
I trust this man. He will make the right decision.
Since his disastrous debate performance nearly 3 weeks ago, more than 20 Democratic lawmakers have said publicly Biden should not run. But the president continues to fight back, reportedly lashing out, saying, I don't want to hear that crap, to lawmakers expressing concerns voters won't back him. And in his latest interview, Biden says there's only one reason he'd stand down.
If there had some medical condition that emerged, if the doctors came in and said, you got this problem, that problem.
But many voters say they want him off the ticket now. One recent poll suggesting 70% of Americans don't have confidence in Biden's mental capacity, and that 2/3 of Democrats want a new candidate.
I'm deeply concerned that the president's circle, the people who, quite frankly, have kept him in a bubble.
Okay, we don't need to really hear anymore. That's it.
I mean, that's brutal.
Yeah.
That's it. It's over.
So there's a thing when a leader has to sort of go to war with their own party. It happens all the time.
But it's so transparently absurd. He is the most popular president of all time.
I thought so, yeah.
He won 81 million votes.
More than any other president ever, right?
And they're trying to force him out. I mean, it simply makes no sense on its own terms.
What's interesting is Obama only topped out at 69 million. He really smashed Obama's record.
Yeah.
So I think it's all clear to everyone that he's just he's a stooge, a front man, a spokesman, a puppet, etc. But for who then? So who actually makes the decision? Who pulls the trigger on these things?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So
that's the same question as who's really running the country, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now I obviously have no real insights into it, but if I would suspect it's people like Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, the Obamas, Barry and Mike. as well as people like some of the other big beasts, people like that Adam Schiff bloke, Cory Booker, people like that.
The press secretary, they're all going to form a kind of cabal around him.
I was exactly going to use that word.
And they will orchestrate what the messaging is going to be, what Biden's going to say from the teleprompter. As Elon pointed out, whoever controls the teleprompter controls the United States. And it's going to be that sort of, I don't know how to describe it. There's kind of a pillar inside of the Democrat Party that everything else is hinging off. And it's obviously sort of like the Clintons, the Obamas, and all of those sorts,
Clintons, right?
All of those sorts of people who have got just an iron grip over the party.
It's like 3 or 4 WhatsApp groups are running the country.
Yeah. Unironically. And so, like, the Atlantic can just be like, well, look, stay alive. We just need your corporeal presence. And this was in 2020. Like, where it's just like, look, just don't die.
That was 2020, was it?
Yeah, that's 4 years ago.
So I've got to say, I'm feeling so bad for the poor sod who spent the last few months printing Biden ballots.
Well,
It's like
you got paid.
It's like the president or the chairman of the board of a big corporation. It could be a really old dude who doesn't really know what's going on and just plays a bit of golf from time to time, but he's a figurehead. So if like real politics aren't involved, that's not a problem. It keeps the shareholders happy.
Yeah.
But when it's the president of the United States that's supposed to be in charge of policy and has got his finger on the button, it's just not good enough, right?
Well, he's meant to be the chief executive.
Right, yeah.
He's meant to be the guy who's calling the shots, and people have voted for him because they want his agenda to be executed.
And the commander-in-chief.
There is always that.
Wasn't Obama the first president for a very long time to maintain a residence in Washington, D.C.?
Oh, I don't know. They live in the West Wing, don't they? They live in the West Wing. Well,
Obama stayed on. After Joe came.
Right.
Okay.
Obama stayed in Washington D.C. He's got a residency there,
right?
And you've seen events
somewhere in Georgetown, isn't it?
Yeah, and you've seen events where Obama and Biden have been present, and people just flock straight to Obama, and everybody ignores Joe's who's just wandering around bumping into walls.
Also, remember Obama came and visited Sunak mysteriously after he became prime minister and things like that. He's taking on foreign diplomatic responsibilities.
If I had to really guess, I would say it was a combination of Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer that are really the party.
I imagine
what they decide amongst themselves, that little triumvirate.
I imagine Hillary Clinton's in it.
Yeah, or maybe him as well. Yeah, right. Yeah.
You wouldn't risk not including her, would you?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, I mean, looking back at Biden, I've got a link there where it's the Secretary of Defense, the one furthest on the right there, as you see it. The Secretary of Defense guy, which is Lloyd Austin, said President Biden is an extraordinary guardian of Americans' national security.
Based on what track record?
As Commander-in-Chief, POTUS has shown his profound and personal commitment to the Department of Defense and the American military, apart from that Afghan
apart from
debacle.
The diversification of the military and the DEIification of it.
And I'm deeply grateful for his leadership and his statesmanship, apart from when he defecates himself in the Vatican or whatever. He has a secure place in American history as one of our great foreign policy presidents.
Amazing statement.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
That is, I mean...
double thing, isn't it?
Well, it's just crazy. I mean, 2 new wars, the disastrous evacuation of Afghanistan, the purging of the military because of COVID and because of DEI nonsense, and
the
open border, but the general weakening of America's position on the international stage is the legacy of Joe Biden.
I do love the way that Democrats can do this. It's like a shoal of fish that just change direction, all of them at once. So he was perfect. He was sharp as a tack for years. And then 4 weeks ago,
2 weeks ago,
into whatever it was, 2 weeks. I can't remember how many weeks ago.
It was 4 weeks ago from the debate.
Okay, so 4 weeks ago, suddenly he became somebody who had to step down. His time was done. He's not fit to be president, right? And then yesterday night, and all of a sudden, the school of fish changed direction again, and now he's a hero. He's the greatest president ever. It's just that they are so.
I mean, that's the nature of politics in all sorts of ways, party politics anyway. But the leftists are particularly good at it. Actual communists were brilliant at it.
Yeah.
There's a great example of when Stalin turned against Tito in Yugoslavia. And one day he's just a hero of the Soviet republics. And the next day, literally the next day, because Stalin's changed his mind. He's evil and must be removed and must be purged from history and all that sort of thing. And lo and behold, pretty much all, certainly Stalinists, but nearly all communists were like, yes, that's what we think now. across the whole world.
Is that the guy in the famous photo that disappears?
No.
Oh, that was someone
That
else.
was one of his NKVD guys.
Oh,
but
Tito was the leader of Yugoslavia.
It's the same for Mao in his party.
Yeah.
Where he'd just, flip back and forth and people would fall in and out of favor and suddenly the entire party has to lurch. But can we just talk about the lies for a minute? I'm just so tired of the lies because, this statement is just fundamentally dishonest, right?
Yeah.
No one believes that America is a more secure country and the international order is more secure because of Joe Biden, right? It actually became demonstrably more insecure. Like Russia didn't invade Ukraine under Trump, and everyone knows it's because Trump would have thrown an absolute fit, right? Something quite catastrophic would have happened. And so Putin bided his time. But also, again, I hate the narrative lie, the lie that is just embedded in the narrative. Like, look at the first paragraph of this letter that Biden is alleged to have written, right? Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. No one thinks that. No one thinks that. We've made historic investments into rebuilding our nation. No one believes you. Lowering prescription drug costs for seniors. That's the first thing. For historic investments in our nation are in lowering prescription drug costs for seniors. It's like, what is the level of inflation at the United States at the moment? How much is petrol prices compared to when Trump was in charge? It's actually like 4 or 5 times higher. It's absolutely crazy that the best thing we've got is lowering prescription drug costs. Wouldn't it have been better if everyone wasn't being robbed through inflation?
Janet Yellen says inflation isn't a problem or it isn't really happening.
Well, everyone knows it is. I mean, whenever you go to buy anything at the grocery store, whenever you buy any normal necessary thing, you're like, my God, how is this costing so much? And so that would have actually been better than lowering prescription drug costs. But again, the lie is just embedded in the narrative. In expanding affordable healthcare to a record number of Americans. Okay, but maybe things would be more affordable if they were just not very expensive. We've provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances. Okay, that's good. We've passed the first gun safety laws. Okay, great. We've appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court. Well, bravo.
Oh, well done.
And passed the most significant climate change legislation in the history of the world. Right. Nonsense. These are nonsense achievements. These are total nonsense compared to the absolute, when you put them on the scales next to the massive dramatic failures that have got people killed, it's just staggering how they could have the balls to try and be like, look, okay, this was an unmitigated disaster. We're really sorry about this.
And that last line of that paragraph statement, America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today.
Unbelievable.
Like, what a lie. It's just a lie, isn't it?
It's just a lie. It's just a lie.
And
I love I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. It's like, oh yeah, there's a lot of democracy in the Democrat Party.
Yeah. So I think it's fair to say, because, Biden's tenure will be coming to an end, it looks like, one way or another.
Oh yeah.
So we can start to sort of look at his legacy, or what the Biden administration meant in the sweep of American history. You can start to do that already, I think. And, my take, I think a lot of people's take will be that it was a fail.
That's generous.
Just an outright fail from start to finish. If you cast your mind back to 2019, 2020, the people in the party didn't want Biden. He had to get sort of shoehorned in. There was some sort of grassroots swelling of support for Bernie, wasn't there? Remember all the Bernie bros? Yeah. People wanted someone a bit more like Bernie, maybe. The party, anyway.
Well, he came in the same way that he went out. It was arranged in the background.
Right, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
There's a particular quote from Obama, which is, you don't have to do this, Joe. You don't have to do this. Nobody wants you to do it. You don't, and Joe did it anyway.
Well, because he was a bit more compos mentis back then, at least.
He was.
Yeah. And, when you've been a senator or whatever it is for 40 odd years or whatever it was, you've always got your eye on the big seat. And I guess he just always wanted that. You can only imagine everyone that gets involved in party politics, even if they might not even admit it to themselves, want the big job. Otherwise, what's the point in getting involved? Or not everyone, but a lot of them. Certainly if you're a senior politician and it's within reach, it's like being a race car driver and someone offers you a Formula One seat. Of course you're going to take it. You're going to do everything to take it. That's the whole point of doing that, of being in that. Okay, so anyway, so I sort of don't blame him in a way. I blame the handlers, the people behind the scenes that sort of did it, put him forward. They didn't want him. They didn't want Kamala. The party didn't want Kamala. They didn't want her either. But I think historians will look back at the Biden administration as a time like in Roman history where, okay, perhaps the Republic didn't die then exactly, but it took mortal wounds. It got bruised. It took bruises that won't heal. Something like the Tiberius or Gaius Gracchus age during the late Roman Republic, something where the first fractures, sort of completely undeniable fractures occurred that almost certainly won't really get healed, and like wounds that later people will just stick their fingers in and rent apart.
Yeah.
I think that's what they'll look back at Biden as, a vehicle that did that to the Republic.
Because they kind of corrupted themselves into a corner.
Hi folks, thanks for watching. If you liked that and would like to support us, you can sign up to lotusseats.com for only £5 a month, which I think is about $7. Who knows what the exchange rate is these days. And go and watch some of our amazing premium content, such as Bo's Epochs series, which he goes into depth, extreme depth, on many various subjects, such as this one, how Crassus got his comeuppance at Carhae. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and go and follow us over on Twitter, or X, at lotuseaters_com.